Hey, good morning from the sanctuary at Westside Christian Church, and I'm bringing to you some thoughts on the Psalms as we read through. This is May 21st, and so we're looking at Psalms 21. This is another one of the Psalms of David, and you can see that I'm in the sanctuary. Those of you who haven't been here for a while, you may see that we are socially distancing. Still have some seats, some together, but people can be apart and they can move seats at will. But that's not what the psalm is about. The psalm is really about David rejoicing in the salvation of the Lord. And I would like to point out when I'm reading the Psalms, there are three things I'm looking for. One, the perspective from which it is written. It's written by somebody, and so that person, whether it be sons of Korah, Asaph, Solomon, Moses, David, or someone else that I don't remember, they may have a particular title in the psalm, and we'll see what that's about. This one, it's for I believe it's for the musicians, and David, the director of music, and David is just writing, and he's rejoicing that there's something to be happy about. Salvation, oh my, what is salvation? It's eternal, it's free, it's with the Lord, free of tears, free of problems and pain, and to be eternally free of temptation. One way I see is salvation. But so there's a perspective from the author's behalf, and I think there's a possibility that there's a perspective, maybe it was written as a forthtelling of the Messiah, of letting us get an insight as to what the Son of God or the messenger of God that is forecast from their future and to our what is past now, Jesus as the Son of God. How did this psalm maybe project some of the things would be in his life? And then thirdly, there's something for me, something for us right now. We each have a perspective, we have our own life, and there are at least these three things I'm looking for when I'm reading actually the Bible as a whole, but specifically the Psalms. So when we read this, and David is saying he's rejoicing for the salvation that he has. One of the salvations of David was that he didn't die in war. He was in a lot of wars. He was saved from Saul. He was saved from Absalom, his own son, when Absalom turned against him. David didn't want Absalom to even die. He loved his son. But Absalom died, and David was furious, mad, and Joab had to confront him and say, hey, lighten up, dude. This guy was trying to kill you, and now all your men may turn on you. But at any rate, David was a man that loved his family, and he was thankful for what God had brought him through, even when his family turned against him. And I would like to point out that in verse 4, one of the things David, he was happy that in verse 2, he got the desires of his heart. I mean, wouldn't we all be happy for that? In verse 2, David also, he got the desires of his heart. What does that mean exactly? I don't know for sure. But in verse 4, he's happy that he's gets to be forever and ever, it says. The length of the days will be forever and ever. I think one thing David might be referring to, this could have been right after he heard this message from Nathan the prophet. If you turn to 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 16, and that segment of Scripture, it talks about David being told for the very first time that God was going to bless him, that there would be a Messiah that came through his family, through him, and that he would reign on David's throne forever. And I'm not sure David knew what that meant. I'm not sure we always understand God's message fully, but I think David could be excited. Hey, I'm going to have someone sit on my throne forever and ever. That's awesome. And he would be excited about that and rejoicing to God and singing God praises. Well, I think the Messiah, Jesus would be thankful for that. He received, the crown of the king, if you will, on the throne in heaven. Jesus is there forever and ever. I can see this kind of perspective. And we rejoice now because we may not always get all the desires of our heart, but when we get salvation through Christ, we get the desires of our heart. And really, because I'm not trying to play off any desires you have that you're not getting, but I think sometimes the desires we have are very short-lived, we have a short vision for some of our desires. Maybe we want money or we want to pay off a bill. Well, when a bill is paid off, then there's other desires, aren't there? But I think the couple things, maybe three, that we're all looking for. One, salvation forever. That's a huge. We can't even get that without it being given to us for free. I think two, we would like to have peace. I would just like to know that I can rest peacefully. I'm at peace with myself. I'm at peace with God because of his son through Jesus. And I'm at peace with people because I know I'm not pulling any wool over anyone. I'm not trying to dupe. I'm not deceiving. I am doing my duty and being faithful at that. So I can live at peace, and I can rest at peace, and I can die at peace because of that. And I think another thing we're all looking for, and this is one thing that David is rejoicing for, and Jesus certainly understood, is that we receive God's love. Because of God's everlasting love, he will not be moved. It's amazing that God's love, in verse 7, for the king trusts in the Lord, it says, through his unfailing love of the Most High, he will not be shaken. Or another translation say he will not be moved. We're looking for peace, love, and salvation. Those are things I'm thinking that we might all be looking for. And there may be other things. I'm not saying that's an exclusive and only list you should ever have. There are many other things. The desires of our hearts are different. I think there is probably, maybe we can add a fourth, because it's in this passage of chapter 21 of Psalms, is that his enemies, David's enemies, were punished. Jesus' enemies were punished. Jesus was victorious on the cross, and our enemies will be punished eternally, eventually. They're not right now. But you know what? We rarely get everything the way we want it done. We don't get everything we want, first of all. And second of all, when we do get some of the things we want, it's not quite what we expected. It's a little bit different. So we kind of have to tweak our understanding, or maybe tweak our expectations, and have it understood in a more maybe godly way. I think one of the things that we can be rejoicing over is that fact that not only are our enemies punished, that we can rejoice in God has the power to do so. He is sovereign, he is ruler, and he is able to punish. But since God is unfailing in his love, he is also willing to be patient with us and show us some kindness and give us some grace and show mercy. So there's a lot of things to that. But this psalm, again, it's another short one. It's only 13 verses. And David exalts God for who he is, what he has done. And I think we can too. We will receive, we are promised, a crown of life. And that we can all look forward to, and we can all rejoice with one another and exalt God for, because of that wonderful gift of salvation that is full and free. Psalm 21. I hope you have a great day, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.